I tested 4 different Perfect Bar recipes to see which one came closest to the real bar. In this video, I'm going to share with you the winner and explain why I ranked each recipe the way I did. All of the recipes had similar ingredients. All of them had peanut butter. Most of them had protein powder, chocolate chips, and then from there it varied a little bit. Most of them were really straightforward to make. You just mix it up, put it in a bowl, roll it out, put it in the fridge. Pretty basic stuff. What I did was I made all 4 recipes, cut out 1 bar of each, put it on a pan, and then me and my husband tried it. We would take like a bite of the Perfect Bar and then try one, take another bite of the Perfect Bar, try one, just to really like refresh what we were tasting for. And here is the results. So number 4, we're going worst to least. So starting with the worst, number 4 is Mama Fit Lindsay. So this one had 6 ingredients in it. It's the only recipe that added oil. Peanut butter is already kind of oily. This one also had coconut oil, and so the result was just pretty greasy. Even when I took it out of the fridge, you could see like a layer of grease on the top. I didn't really like that. The recipe said vanilla protein powder, but you could use other kinds, but she said 2 scoops, and that was kind of confusing to me. I did my best. My final result didn't really look like the picture on her website, but yeah, I don't know. The nutrition facts on this one, first of all, it's in kilocalories, so I don't really know how that translates to regular calories, but the protein is less than half of what a Perfect Bar has. The fat is half, carbohydrate, everything is way off. So I honestly felt like it was kind of dishonest to call this recipe a copycat Perfect Bar. It just, nutritionally, it doesn't add up at all. And this was the main one that we tasted it, and it just tasted nothing like a Perfect Bar. It didn't taste bad. It had like a peanut butter taste, but it was just so far off from a Perfect Bar that I just don't feel like it's really fair to call it a copycat recipe. Number 3, this one is from the blog Erin Lives Whole. This one, the texture of the bar was actually the best one. Not the texture, but like the way it held up. All the other bars were a lot more floppy than the Perfect Bar. This one had the best like structure, I guess you could say. But nutritionally, it was also half the protein, 8 grams of protein, where a Perfect Bar has 15. And the fat was less, way higher carbohydrates. So to me, a reason someone is trying to get a copycat Perfect Bar is probably partially for the taste, but also for the nutritional things. So if it's going to be half the amount of protein, that's kind of a big, nah. Also, this one was very sweet. It just, if you had like a bite of Perfect Bar and a bite of this bar, it was just like, whoa, way more honey than I think necessary. But I wouldn't even really bother trying to tweak the sweetness factor because the protein. So that was number 3. Number 2, number 1 and number 2 were actually a pretty close call. Number 2 tasted pretty similar to a Perfect Bar. It had a little less of a peanut butter taste to it. And like we kind of kept going back and forth between this one and the other recipe. It did have a chalky texture. I don't know what would kind of have given it that chalky texture, but that's really hard to get past, even if it in other ways is similar to the Perfect Bar. I wonder if I used a different protein powder, if this one would have won. It's pretty close, and it's a pretty good recipe. Nutritionally, it's almost the exact same. It's off by 1 gram of protein. Otherwise, it's across the board the exact same. So this one is pretty solid. If you are like really looking for this recipe for you, I would encourage you to try number 1 and number 2 just to see which one you like. Maybe that texture wouldn't be such a big deal to you. So yeah, number 2, pretty good. And that brings us to our winner, which was from Oven Blooms. This was actually not on Pinterest. This was a YouTube video recipe, so I will link it below. This one, it just tasted the best. It's slightly richer than a Perfect Bar. Like to eat a whole one of these would feel like a little, I mean the Perfect Bar is pretty rich already, but this one just like cranked it up a little notch. But it just tastes really good. It doesn't hold up as well. It's kind of floppy. But I had one this week that had been in my car for about an hour, so like really floppy, and it just was like, oh, this tastes like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Like it's good. It tastes good. Good bar. And nutritionally, it's almost the exact same. It's got the same protein, 1 more gram of fat, 3 more grams of carbohydrates. So if you're doing like keto or low carb, you might want to go with the Mama Did It version. But I really, really liked this Oven Blooms. I think I'm going to keep making it for my family. So one thing that I did see on the nutrition facts of the Perfect Bar that none of these recipes had is dried whole egg powder and rice protein. So if you were like feeling really ambitious, you could try, I don't know if you could even buy that stuff to try to replicate this. But in the full experiment, what I realized is that Perfect Bar, they've got a good thing going. They've got a lot of people buying their products, and it's just, as much as we would love for it to be as simple as mixing together some peanut butter and protein powder, it's not going to be that easy to recreate it. Like they have a good thing going, and it's a little bit complicated that you can't just whip it up in your kitchen. Here is the winner compared to an actual protein bar. I think you could roll it out a little thicker. You can see the Perfect Bar is definitely thicker. But the other thing is, see, this one is a lot, it doesn't like hold its form as well as a Perfect Bar does. It starts to kind of bend. It's not gonna have that same, it doesn't quite have the same firmness. You can see this one's pretty floppy. What I might do if I make this recipe again is just roll them into balls, just have like little protein balls. Then I think it would last longer once it's out of the refrigerator. That's that. It's not exactly the same thing. If this is like Diet Coke to you and you can't do Diet Pepsi, or if this is like you love every single nuance about this bar, you're probably not gonna just die over the recipe. But if you're mostly here for nutrition facts, like good nutrition and a good taste, this is definitely worth making. It's easy, it's a lot cheaper, and it tastes like a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's really, really good. So that's my video. Let me know in the comments if you tried this recipe. Also, if you have any copycat other genres you would like for me to try, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week, and thanks for watching.